Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, an entitled smug burglar trespassed and tried to break into my property. He did not know that I had an electric fence and almost gets grilled. He then called the police on me for supposedly hurting him. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the stories. This happened a couple of years back when I still used to live in South Africa before moving to Sudan. My family has been comprised of proud farmers that love what they are doing. However, recently we've been downsizing a little bit and sold a lot of our animals. We had 2 pieces of land a couple of kilometers away, so it was naturally divided between me and my elder brother. Our parents' house was near the larger plot which my brother tended to, while I had to routinely go up and down the road to take care of the smaller plot. It was not an issue for me considering the roads were mostly empty and whatever neighborhood we had around was pretty quiet and peaceful. But when we finally had some extra cash to spare, our dad decided to buy me a small place of my own near my land. It was not modern by any means, but it had more resources and luxuries than my old home, which I appreciated. He had also apparently installed CCTV cameras all around the house, which I thought was overkill, but would later come to realize that it wasn't. The first year went by easy. The neighborhood around my new place was livelier than the previous one, though it did pose some problems like children trying to free my chickens or diving face first into the fresh pack of manure I had bought. Still, overall, things were looking pretty good. A few weeks later, someone moved into the house that was being built beside my own plot for 6 months now. It finally seemed complete and I was actually looking forward to meeting with my neighbor. However, the moment I laid eyes on him from across the yard, I just knew he was going to be trouble. Still, I tried to make the first civil move. It went okay. He did not say much, mostly answering in non-committal hums and half-baked excuses, so I did not find any reason to continue talking. A couple more days pass and by now the other residents are also interested in the new person, though they too got shrugged off. I know it would be too quick to judge someone, but who in their right mind would ever turn down free homemade food? Anyway, I chose to ignore him, until one night I wake up to the loud noises of chickens clucking in my yard. I instantly reached for my shotgun before lunging off the bed, a bit confused since this had never happened before. I reached the chicken coop to find nothing more than its open door and a chicken clucking loudly, some of its feathers plucked as if it was struggling. I look around and still found nothing, not even footprints in the muddy part of my yard. It must be around 2 AM then and I was already tired from the day before, so I simply put the chicken back and decided to deal with it the next day. Unfortunately, the entirety of the next morning and afternoon was spent in traveling with my dad to some official who would help us grow our business, and by the time I reached back home, it was starting to get dark. I knew that it couldn't be the kids. They were rowdy and troublemakers, but they were not undisciplined enough to break into someone's house like that. Which also meant that there might be some burglar or thief roaming around. Now, this information was more concerning to me than anyone breaking into my chicken coop. Most people in this part were not used to robberies and hence kept their windows open, especially during rainy season when the breeze was cool at night. So as I went to bed, I decided that I would at least tell the town sheriff about the encounter I had the other day, wake up and get ready to do just that after having a peaceful sleep. It's not like I expected the officials to start looking into the matter immediately, but I also did not expect the sheriff to basically ignore me with a simple wave of his hand like I was some cattle in his field. God, if it was not for the elderly residents, I would not have even approached these useless idiots. I returned home and decided to just complete some paperwork before sleeping my anger away. Maybe it was the combination of tension and irritation, but I don't notice the change in my yard until 3 days later. I squint my eyes to make sure that yes, there are several pots of plants missing. There's no longer a small money plant that my mom gave me last summer, no longer a tiny pot of cactus that I bought on a whim, not even the flame lily that I had been trying to grow for a month now. That night I made sure to stay alert, even going as far as to set up alarms, but nothing out of the ordinary happened. The next night I decided to follow the same routine, staying alert and cautious, but yet again absolutely nothing happened. I was about to give up when on the 4th night I had heard a rustle near the window of my bedroom. After noticing that only expensive plants were disappearing, I had placed a fully bloomed bush of red roses under my window in hopes that this thief would be stupid enough to go for it. And guess what? He was. I tiptoed my way out of the house and around, raising my phone. It's not clear to me because it's almost pitch black, but on the screen the face is recognizable enough for me to realize that it's my a-hole new neighbor. I rustle the grass below my feet to have the thief running away before going back inside. The next morning the video is posted on the Facebook page of this town, and by the time I return from tending to the fields, the residents are all giving the new house sour looks. I could hear the loud gossips as my neighbor comes out to throw his trash out, his head down, but when he notices me, he raises his head and throws me a nasty glare. Not that it scares me in any way, I could literally see embarrassment oozing out of him. But it seemed like this one was shameless enough to continue to trespass on my property, digging up my vegetables, making a mess of my flowers and stealing more of my plots. I was almost about to break his nose when my dad suggested I simply put up an electric fence that would teach him a better lesson than anything else could. I followed his advice and hired the people for the job. Interestingly, my neighbor was away for the days that it took to set up the electric fences. Call me petty, but now I was almost looking forward to him being dumb enough to jump in my property. I did not have to wait long. The alarm linked to the electric fence goes off soon after I had gone to sleep, and while I'm groggy and irritated, I'm also done with all of this. So I take my trusty shotgun and run out to see this man almost convulsing on the ground, his face contorted in pain, and I would have felt bad if I hadn't noticed his hand going towards a small pistol nearby. As it was, I raised my shotgun towards the sky and fired a shot, effectively making the stupid man drop the pistol. I honestly wished it had ended then, but this donkey of a person gets up, takes out his phone and calls the police with the most crap-eating grin. All that time I am just standing in the middle of the yard like, how stupid can a person be? Anyways, the police arrives and this man tries to pin the blame on me for having unsupervised electric fences that electrocuted him while he was taking a nightly walk. Not only is the excuse like the crappiest, it is clearly visible that the electric fence is behind the wooden one, so no passerby could be electrocuted until they jump in. You know, I should almost thank this man for calling the police and not the sheriff, because they were calm enough to listen to my story, take a look at the CCTV footage in my laptop and see the video I took of him when he was trying to steal my roses. As was expected, the police let me go and cuffs this numbnut of a human for breaking into a private property, trespassing and carrying unregistered arms. I did not honestly want him to go to jail for something like this because I knew he brought that pistol only to scare me, and I'm still glad he spent a few years behind bars, as in that time I was able to shift out of South Africa and never see his face again. And yeah guys, while I do appreciate the amazing excuse of instead of robbing a place, you're just taking a nightly walk and then essentially calling the cops on yourself, I have to admit this is one of the dumbest thieves I've ever seen in a story. Either way, if you enjoy the stories I post daily, I would very much appreciate it if you could leave a comment for the algorithm and also like the video, because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. Anyway, the next one is titled Karens Can Be So Stupid. I'm a hairdresser that rents a booth in a salon, as do all the stylists that work there. The owner of the salon is one of my best friends, so after closing the salon that I operated for 20 years, I joined her team and I'm really happy. I have a wonderful clientele with the exception of a few, which I'll get to in a bit, and get along great with my coworkers except one, which is Kate. Note, not Karen. She has a grating personality and for the most part I can just let her comments roll off my back. She doesn't have a clientele, which leads to her having way too much free time, which she uses by pestering the rest of us while we are with our clients and butting into conversations that should be private. Recently, I had two of my clients tell me that when they called for appointments they were told that I didn't have time for them and that Kate would give them a discount if they came in with her instead. However, they would have to come in on a day that I wasn't there so that my feelings would not get hurt. And well, that's a load of poop, because everyone in the salon knows that if I don't have an opening for someone when they call, they are to take down the name so I can call them personally to work them in. When I confronted Kate about those instances, she just shrugged and said that I was too sensitive and besides I was too busy, so she was really just helping me out. And now onto the petty revenge. I have a few customers that I've been trying to get rid of for years, you know the ones. They are never happy, always late, don't tip and generally APITB, which I suppose means a pain in the butt. Anyway, I decided that if she wanted my customers so bad, I would feed her the ones that I wanted to get rid of anyway. So when they had trouble getting in with me, I would tell them that I was booked out for months, but they would be really happy with Kate. She told me yesterday that she did not know why all of my crappy customers were her problem now. My days are better, it's a bit easier for my customers to book with me, and she is always in a bad mood for having to deal with unhappy customers so much of her day. Plus, a couple of my other coworkers have started doing the same. The next one is titled Email Revenge. Many years ago, I, female, was dating someone, male, that hurt me, humiliated me, and did not stop to think how it could backfire on him. He pursued me, I liked him, we hit it off. We spent lots of time together, dinners, going out, many nights at his place, etc. We were dating and everything seemed great. Well, sometime into dating, he hurt me. I discovered lies, secrets, other women. He was also really mean and hurtful to me when I found this out, etc. I realized it was all lies and games to him. I was sincerely heartbroken and disappointed in him. As my last communication to him, I decided to email him instead of speaking to him over the phone. I went through the disappointment I had in him, wasting my time, emotions, etc., my closure with him. Well, I started getting notices in my email account, and at first I thought they were spam, not bothering to see what the emails were in regards to. I finally take a look to see what is going on, and my heart drops and I gasp. He had forwarded my email to all of his friends, a group of male and female friends, couples, singles, lifetime group of friends. The best of friends. They are going back and forth, laughing at me, mocking me, calling me pathetic, saying I deserve the pain for being stupid and trusting him. It just went on, and I was included in all the replies. It was horrible. I cried for a minute until I realized something. I realized I had in possession the red flags I had ignored. It hit me at that moment, all the things he had said about his group of friends, all the stories I had heard, all the secrets I knew. That's right, I gathered myself, poured a nice drink, laughed and said, "It's on." I replied to the group email saying, "I'm glad you guys have found my hurt entertaining, my personal life not respected, your friends' behavior acceptable. My expressing myself to him in how things ended is not shameful, what he did with my email and me is shameful. But since you guys enjoy this type of entertainment, I figured why not join in on the fun? I went through the whole list of friends so-and-so, you're not included in any activities and invites because they think your wife emasculated you and she has cut your balls off and no one respects you anymore. Also to his wife, no one likes you, they think you're a stuck-up and laugh at you because that rock you flaunt is glass, not a real diamond or any other real stone. For the one that says I deserve to be treated this way and hurt, aren't you the one that just had her violent abusive boyfriend destroy your whole apartment for what time in a row already? Didn't you go crying to your friends about it? I guess you must have deserved it as well, huh? And just so you know, everyone thinks you're an idiot too for being with the guy that treated you that way. Welcome to the club. I went through the list and revealed everything, every secret, everything they thought and said about each other, everything they didn't know and didn't want others to know. I ended it with, wow, this was fun. I'm glad we did this. I feel so much better now. And if anyone is hurt, upset, feels violated, humiliated, angry, don't bother emailing me. Talk to your little friend that thought this was a great idea. And also remember, you guys thought it was a great idea and fun as well. The silence after that was the sweetest sound ever. And by the way guys, sorry if you can hear dogs barking in the background. It's the neighbor dog that's super sweet, but unfortunately our neighbors don't really take good care of him. Either way, months after that he messaged me, tried apologizing, told me all his friends dropped him, he had nowhere to stay and asked if he could sleep on my couch. Nope, obviously that's not gonna happen. He tried reaching out a few times throughout the years, trying to make amends, explaining that he lost everyone after that, that group of lifelong friends was done, he had his own place working etc, but he was alone. Edit, that whole group disintegrated instantly from what he said, it was chaos, relationships ended, no one remained friends after that. The only thing they were in agreement with was that they hated him. When this happened, I did not even stop to think of what the outcome would be. The only thing on my mind was giving them a taste of feeling humiliated, violated, mocked. My revenge intention was simply to make them feel some of what I felt. Edit, reminder, this happened many years ago, not recently. I didn't think it had to be recent or post a picture of the email to prove it is true. I did not think this story was that big of a deal to begin with, as far as public interest would go. I thought it was a crazy story to share for the entertainment of a few that might come across it. I assumed my story would not be that different or more fascinating than any other revenge story. If you knew me in person, you would understand me, my personality and humor and attitude towards things. I am always laughing over things. I laugh over thinking something is funny, disbelief, I'm being sarcastic, talking crap, etc. I try not to write my casual messages to others very seriously because they are meant to not come across that way, and I want others to laugh and not feel like they are reading some serious novella. Believe it or not, this is nowhere near one of the most dramatic things that has happened to me. My life has been wild since birth, and if you guys think this story is crazy or fake, then well, I'm screwed sharing the rest of my life because it only gets crazier. My family nicknames for me are La Mala Suerte, The Bad Luck, Mayhem, Final Destination. I'm a Chicana, and for those that know, the amount of times I've had eggs rubbed on me to remove the bad luck and bad energy is hilarious. The amount of times I've been blessed, prayed on, etc. I've been on my own, and since I was 16, the things I've been through and seen can make a grown man cry. I laugh at things. Laughing has got me through some crazy stuff in life. I would rather laugh than cry and show the world that I'm laughing at stuff, and I would rather show you with my words that I'm laughing because I am, and if that upsets you guys or you think it makes me look psychotic, then so be it. Just give me one more thing to laugh at. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I've noticed this in the past, that some Reddit posts, or at least in some subreddits, people can definitely be cruel, and you should not always take Reddit too seriously in regards to what people say. But then again, that is more difficult for some people than for others on the internet. And I can absolutely understand where OP is coming from. And the next one is titled Snow Shoveling Dramas. I am reminded of a story that happened while I was living at home. You may enjoy it. On mobile, and names have been forgotten, so I'm gonna make them up. This happened in the late 90s, early 2000s for reference. My dad owned a snowblower. During the wicked weather this side of the Rockies, he would use his blower to take care of the sidewalks in front of everyone on both sides of our block. Most of the families on my block were either seniors, those with small families, or younger couples that inherited their dead relatives' home. Everyone knew everyone, and they understood that my dad was doing this as a courtesy. He was in his 50s and just trying to be a good neighbor. So, my neighbors 2 doors down divorce and sell their house to a family from out of state. Fake name and time, the Picards sounds good. I know they were from a snowy state, but I don't remember where. They moved in during the late summer, close to the start of the school year. A couple months later, our state had a massive snowstorm. It would snow for nearly 24 hours for almost the entire winter. You would shovel and clear snow just to get another dump, and you would have to keep going and keep going. We had something like 350% of the average snowfall that month alone. So my dad is out there during the first big dump with his snowblower, just taking care of business as he is nice, and the third house down had an occupant that walked on arm crutches. He just made a path from our house to theirs. No big deal, been taking care of this for a while now. He gets done and heads to work. He gets home late most nights, so he is not expecting anyone be at the door as he walks in. But lo and behold, the Picards must have been watching out the window for him as they walk up on him as he opens the door. "Hey, did you shovel our walk?" "Huh? Our walk, the one that runs in front of our house." "Oh yeah, I did your sidewalk." "Well, we are not paying you for the shoddy work you did. You sprayed our tree with snow." My dad is out of it after a 10+ hour day, commute not included, so he is not getting what's happening. I'm sorry? "You should be. That tree is too small to handle that much snow blown on it. You need to blow it somewhere else." As my dad was one that religiously read city bylaws, he knew the time frame for removing snow and where you could put shoveled snow. The city doesn't allow you to blow snow into the street because it messes with the plow's ability to take care of the streets. But Mr. Picard insisted that he had to blow the snow elsewhere. Knowing what he knew, my dad directed the snow into the only other spot available, which was his driveway. A driveway that is almost 45 degrees down from the carport too. Or so it seemed. Wicked steep either way. So the next day the neighbor comes by to complain again. He didn't know that a small snowfall can get cars stuck in that driveway, let alone what we had plus a snow blower. His car got stuck halfway in the street and he had to get it towed out. If my dad was home, he could have saved them the tow fee, but Picard did not know that. So Picard is fuming and saying he's going to do his own walk from now on. My dad tries to tell him that he is just assisting the neighbor on the other side and he doesn't charge for being a good neighbor, etc. It is cold and my dad wants the door shut, but Picard doesn't want to step in and my dad doesn't have his shoes or coat. So Picard just says, "I know what I'm doing. I'm a grown man. I can deal with a little fluff." The next day, my dad knocks on the neighbor's door and tries to tell Picard about how strict the city is about snow removal and how he has 24 hours from the start of snowfall to get things removed, etc. He wrote down a website where he can go to read the rules, but Picard did not take it. The city was constantly driving down our block for reasons I won't get into here. The Picards were doing a semi-sufficient job manually shoveling snow away properly, but then October in my state has a big teachers conference and most families go out of town for a late camping or early hunting trip. So did the Picards. They are gone for 4 days during the worst storm of the season. They had not arranged to have the walk shoveled and the snow was piling so high, city inspectors came out. Parents and neighbors complained to the city that they couldn't walk down our street. It was obvious that the walks were being taken care of, so why not theirs? The city posted a 48-hour compliance notice, but it would be 72 before the Picards got back home. The city charged them with hazardous conditions and failure to maintain property accessible to the public. On top of the labor fee to shovel the walk, it was like $350 easily. The city kept a watchful eye on the property for the rest of the winter for any issues from then on out. Once the city has you on their radar, it is hard to be done with them. The cherry on top of the entire situation though, there is a knock on the door in early November, same year. One of the Picard kids handed my sister an envelope and just walked away. We give it to my mom and inside there is a note saying something like, "This is for the shoveling you did already." There was a $100 bill inside. My family tried to return it, but they never answered the door. So we used it to take our large family out to our favorite buffet later that week. Thank you Picards for paying for a free service, we spent it well. The next one is titled Neighbors Read Their Contract. This is a story from a year ago involving my neighbors and I thought it was worth a share. My neighbors were selling their house and had been screwed left and right by buyers. For background, neighbor learned he was being relocated to another city, partner and him started working out the details and their house went on the market and was quickly closed with a deal pending. If you have never bought a house before, closing can take between 45 and 60 days with things like inspections, necessary repairs, etc. So they started down that process. Their buyers came off sweet but quickly turned sour. The people they hired to inspect my neighbor's house were family members and they came away with a huge sheet of things to be repaired or to knock down the price. Many of those repairs they demanded be fixed at my neighbor's expense by a different contractor, despite the fact that my neighbor is a contractor himself. Then they started sending people to the house unannounced, totally illegal, and showing up to the property on their own, trespassing. The nail in the coffin was that my neighbors had been strung along for a full 10 days longer than they should have been because the buyers kept threatening to back out of the sale, despite having already signed paperwork without their knowledge. All very muddy. As part of the contract, the buyers said that they needed to take all personal property and all debris, claiming a financial penalty for cleanup if there was anything on the property that the buyers thought counted. So my neighbors had spent a lot of time cleaning out yard debris, multiple dump runs, etc. But as the purchase was almost finalized and all this bad stuff was happening, they had an idea. While one is a contractor, the other one works in legal and has for 10 years. She took to the contract and local home purchase regulations for the definitions of personal property. Turns out that besides the obvious, light bulbs also count. They went through and removed every light bulb they could find, except ones that were installed as part of fixtures. The sellers had to purchase nearly $200 worth of light bulbs as part of their move-in, which they did not discover until they showed up with moving trucks.